Hello everyone and welcome to the Wicked Weekly. My name's Brian. If you happen to be new around here, and today we're talking about some major fundamental changes to the combat, battle, and leveling system that Thomas has shared over on Twitter. Now, there is a little bit of vagueness to it, so I've gone through and done some research. Going to give you guys some examples of what this might truly mean for the future, and time-wise estimate, this all kind of ties into Combat 2.0, but it does sound like some of this stuff is going to get put into testing, and Thomas has already talked about opening up various different testing realms so that us, the players, maybe be able to jump in, help out, really truly kind of refine this game as best as possible. But before we dive into the bulk of the news here, I do want to kind of highlight something Thomas also shared over on Discord, talking about the cadence in these updates. Obviously, we're waiting and they're working on hotfix number 3. We shared this in previous videos, but beyond that, when we're starting to look at the multiplayer update, I've been estimating July, and that might be what we see here with Thomas saying. That's another thing though. I think we should spread our updates apart just a little bit. Not like we did with the breach, of course, but it's not that exciting to ship a hotfix every 2 weeks since the changes just trickle in. Better to do it every 2 to 3 months so people have time to really understand the beats and for us to do some marketing around this stuff. And marketing is a key element. It is a key element within all video games. It's why you see even Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft advertising the game. It's not necessarily always to bring in new players, but to keep existing players. Marketing front and center, top of mind, gets you playing, gets you excited, and keeps you going. And that in and of itself, when would be the next marketing push? Multiplayer update. And that would be sometime maybe around June, or more practically July, maybe August if needed. But on a serious note, one of the things that I talked about in my previous video, Thomas is talking about here, all right off to bed to watch some Seinfeld. At least I can laugh through some of my tears. There's some communication of truth in stress with what is going on. The game needs to sell. They are a fully independent studio. And as a part of that, I've announced that I'm going to be trying to support the game any way I can in terms of giving away a copy of this game on the live streams once a week. And several of you have reached out and actually asked how you can kind of support that kind of mission. And the easiest and the most free way is to be here, a part of this community. Ultimately, welcome into the 653 new faces that have joined the community this month alone. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Mr. Chemo, Brandon, and Cyraid have sounded off in the comments letting me know that they're new here, and I'm so glad that I could officially welcome them to the channel. But I will be giving away a copy for free if you guys watch the videos, if you like the videos. That kind of engagement does generate some revenue for me. It's not much, but I think it's enough that I can afford to give away a copy of No Rest for the Wicked on Steam each and every week. So that is essentially what I would ask for you guys to do. If you want to go above and beyond that, come hang out on the live streams, be a part of the community in Discord, and all of that really does kind of help pay this forward. So all that being said, let's dive in, because I'm going to open up with somebody other than Thomas and a comment they left after reading this tweet, because I'm going to see if it actually applies to you guys. EPH on Discord says, after reading your tweet this morning, I found myself disagreeing for like the first 10 seconds. Then I read onward and found myself completely agreeing. Looking forward to the drastic change. You doing an awesome job with the game too. Man, my dyslexia just kicked in overdrive, so I do apologize. I tripped over EPH's comment. Hopefully that didn't irritate too many of you out there. Let's dive into what Thomas has to say. You let me know if you fall into the EPH category, or if you are frustrated, or if you have any questions. Love to hear from you. Anyway, Thomas writes, folks, one thing that has become abundantly clear to us is that the attribute system has to die. We've always been a bit wary of using the system, but we wanted to go ahead with it anyway. Since it's a system that other big games in the genre use, we thought it was because of that people would get it. After having analyzed the data, people clearly don't get it. The reason is why this system works in Souls games is because your stats in Souls don't matter all that much. This is why SL1 runs are a thing. But giving players the illusion of choice is just not a good design in my book, which is why we've tried to have the best of both worlds by having an attribute system and making the stats actually matter. Turns out That literally is the equivalent of giving players a rope to hang themselves with. Here are some of the issues that they're seeing. Players automatically assume that a level 20 character will just naturally be stronger than a level 1 character. We see a lot of players only putting in points into the supporter attributes like health, stamina, focus, or equip load, while barely putting in any points into their main attributes, and then they wonder why their character isn't getting stronger. We assume that's because players can clearly see their weapon damage going up as they put points into strength. If they had a strength weapon equipped, they'd connect the dots. Turns out a lot of players didn't. We see a lot of players using a strength weapon while putting on a lot of points into dex or other main attributes, which essentially results in players having insanely underpowered builds without truly understanding why. In an attribute system, your character is defined by how you spend your attribute points. If you've never put any points into the attributes that the weapon of your choice scales with, your level 20 character will just be as strong as a level 1 character because we gave the player the choice, but the player made the wrong choices and then blames the game instead of themselves. The good thing is that we knew this since early access launch, and this is one of the big heart surgery changes that we've been talking about for a while. We have the design for the new system ready, and that will need to get implemented, and we'll very slowly roll that out. This new system goes through an enormous amount of testing and fine-tuning before it ever gets released in an actual patch. Ultimately, I'm taking inspiration from systems Yatsu Misano came up with in order to fix the situation. We will ensure that leveling up feels insanely addictive, and that each level up will allow the player to only make good choices while still allowing for a wide variety of builds to be made, including insane builds that make no sense, but still work out anyway. But we have to ensure that players can or can't easily brick their characters by making wrong choices this early on. We even had internal developers at Moon making some baffling choices regarding their attributes. So it's just extremely clear that we have to make a pretty drastic change here. I'm personally extremely excited about this change, and I think it will make the leveling experience much better. Hang tight, we got you covered. And he referenced Matsano here, which is a really exciting thing. Why? Well, he's talked multiple times about his love for Final Fantasy Tactics and even Final Fantasy VII. Now, for those of you guys who want to know, and you might not necessarily off the top of your head know what this man, this legend, honestly, has worked on, we've got Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen, one of my absolute favorite games on the SNES, and later came back out on PlayStation. Tactics Ogre, a follow-up in a way very similar to his other game, Final Fantasy Tactics. Both of these are absolutely incredible games. Then you got Vagrant Story, and then finally Final Fantasy 12. Now, Tactics, Vagrant Story, and 12 also all kind of live in the world of Ivalice, which honestly, come on Square, what are you doing with Final Fantasy Tactics? Let's bring that back. Let's get that out for a new audience. I hope whether it's a remaster, a remake, I don't care, just make it happen. But you can see here, this is an incredible set of games that should get you excited based off of what Thomas has alluded to and we've covered here in the past. We'll continue to cover these changes as they take clearer shape and we're able to actually present you with real information. But I thought to give you guys a little bit of a service, I want to kind of talk about these games and what their systems entail, and that way obviously this is speculation as to what this truly will translate into Wicked, but it will give you a sense of what is already established out there, and maybe we can kind of piece these pieces together. If nothing else, we can always compare to our predictions in the future. Talking about Final Fantasy 12, it had the grid and or license board progression system. So instead of a raw +3 strength, characters would spend license points on branching grids to unlock jobs, skills, and various different stat boosts. This removed freeform attribute points and replaced them with nodes on a grid that forces players to make meaningful trade-offs at each level up. Thomas has alluded to this in some ways in the past. Then in terms of Vagrant Story, they assign skills to a finite battle palette of slots. New abilities replace old ones, creating a natural slot management currency rather than pumping in attributes. Players curate their deck of actions. For Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy Ogre, two of my most favorite games of all time, especially Tactics. I think it's God tier, one when we talk about the Final Fantasy series. It is a mix of classes, aka jobs, and creating hybrid builds like a knight and a time mage, a force master and an archer. Each class grants a distinct capability tree and passive bonuses. Then we also can talk about more Tactics Ogre and Direct. They have a political storyline which branches based off of various key decisions, opening or closing recruitment opportunities. Attributes aside, your allegiances define access to unique units and gear. And Thomas has also talked about that in terms of factions that we can level up with within Sacrament and so much more. Obviously, that's going to be coming in the future, and most likely I would estimate maybe around the Sacrament update. That's the update that is currently on schedule to follow the multiplayer update. And then finally, in terms of all of this, bringing it together, weapons, gear, linking, and growth, Matsuno's designs have often rewarded gear use. So in Vagrant Story, experimenting with weapon affinities and unlocking chain abilities based off of the skill depends on and deepens your customization of your character. We've also seen this in likes of various different games all throughout that are more about putting in time with a weapon, unlocking its potential and having that applied to you. So theory time, crafting, mental speculation time. It would be really interesting, personally speaking, if the weapons themselves level up. Right now we have an upgrade system, but as you play with a weapon, you get better at that weapon and unlock more of its potential power. And this would freely open us up as gamers to level up as a character, and then based off of our build, we're taking in those kind of advantages. We're scaling with the time that we put in the investment. And this could happen, like we travel back into time of the Final Fantasy Tactics, with some additional currency other than XP. They could still use XP, but from Final Fantasy Tactics that he has actually praised multiple times in Discord, looking at like the job point system in which you get job points, you can apply them, and your character grows in that way. You have the freedom to unlock the things in the different order if you want to save up and invest in those, but the choice really is up to you. But all your choices truly matter to that class you're building. And they've also talked about, kind of in a way, masterworking master classes, where you have your free flowing soft class system that evolves into kind of a mastering and kind of going down a specific build path later. With, again, we're not talking one or two. I think they've listed off 20, maybe even 26 different ways and different archetypes that we could kind of try and master. And I've covered that before here for you guys. So if you guys are curious, you can always go check out the archive of videos. And both of that actually benefits me helping to give away copies of the game. If you want to do it on your own, find some friends, give away a copy. I do know, because I tried to do one today as just a test, so that when I go into the live stream through Steam, we're going to have to be friends and you're going to have to be in a region. So there's going to be some limitations that we have going about it, but we'll try to find a pathway forward to truly help benefit Moon Studios and grow the game because I think it's just that good. And that's where I put my money where my mouth is in that regards. I thank you guys, obviously, for all the support. It really means the world to me. My editor as well, the effort and the team effort that we have going on here to bring you guys, hopefully, some really good content in your YouTube feed every so often. Right now it's daily. It's going to eventually kind of pivot. Ultimately, I really appreciate you guys so much for the time and just the attention, and hopefully you feel like your time is well respected around here. Anyway, I'm going to wish you guys all the best. God bless. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video, but until then, take care.